Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Jacob here, and today I'm doing another small book haul. This is a haul comprised completely of DAW science fiction paperbacks, and I love these old paperbacks, mostly because they always have these really neat illustrated covers. Sometimes the plots are a bit weird, which I also think is kind of fun. So without further ado, let's see what I got here. I got first up is Edward Leowin's The Douglas Convolution, Unraveling the Knots of Time. And it says, "We are the future. In your heart, you are one of us. I want you for your convolution, the master of time. I want you because we share race, language, nation, philosophy." Ian Douglas of 1980, discoverer of the knot in time, became Captain Gart of 2170 by accident. Once in that role, he dared not change, for the world was fighting a desperate battle for survival. The shattered remnants of the American East were hanging on grimly in the face of maniacal attacks of bestial men. Across the seas, a matriarchal order had grasped the fallen reins of science and provided the last hope for a civilized future. Gart Douglas, with his forgotten skills, could be their best tool. But as a tool, he held martial capabilities and scientific abilities they could not suspect. Time's master, time's victim. And that's The Douglas Convolution. I'm not gonna lie, this book doesn't exactly sound like something I would normally read. I probably will, I mean, obviously I bought it, so I will read it just to see if it is something I can get into. This does seem to really follow the trend of science fiction, especially more like classic science fiction, where the hope for the future always kind of laid in the atypical conservative, like American action G.I. Joe hero sent to the future. Think like the Buck Rogers series from the 70s, if you've seen that, you know, where he's just like hyper masculine and that's what they need to fight off the alien invasion, not science or technology or, you know, weapons. So yeah, this definitely sounds like it's gonna be pretty cheesy, but hopefully it's gonna be cheesy in a fun way and not in a super offensive way, but we will see. Next up, I have John Jakes, Mention My Name in Atlantis. Now, before I read the back of this, I do actually really like John Jakes. He wrote a Conan-esque series. Now I can't think of his name, but it's another barbarian-esque series where the hero of the day, for some reason, doesn't wear pants and waves a sword and has more muscle than brains. That's actually a really fun series. He's written a lot of like historical fiction too, I think is what he later became known for. But anyway, I do like John Jakes' writing, so I am actually excited to read this book. So yeah, you've heard of John Jakes, best-selling bicentennial novels like The Bastard, The Titans, The Furies, and more. But did you know that John Jakes has written a surprising novel about the world 10,000 years before America? Alright, that's not important. This is the story of how a barbaric chieftain washed up on the shores of that legendary land caused its fall. It is the fast-moving yet hilarious novel of the last king of Atlantis, of a cunning merchant who outsmarted himself, of a slave girl who refused to be docile, and of the first coming of the UFOs, whose return to Earth have been witnessed by innumerable modern Americans. It's exciting, it's satirical, and it's by the master hand of John Jakes. So yeah, I am actually kind of excited to read this, and I also need to look up because I wasn't 100% sure, but I think John Jakes may have been a pseudonym for another writer, but I'm not 100% sure on that, so don't quote me on that. But when I do review his Barbarian book, I will know the answer to that. So yeah, don't quote me on that yet. Next up, I have Uhler Uprising by H. Beam Piper, first-time paperback publication. I love this color. It shows a futuristic soldier with a mushroom cloud nuclear explosion looking thing in the background, and it says, "The Ularian soldier, silicon body, 4 arms, lizard's head. The Terrans are too far from home to laugh." So already kind of sounds like it's going to be something like military science fiction, or at least I'm hoping so, but we'll see. I am not going to try to pronounce that word on the back, if you guys can see that. Starts with a Z, Z-N-I-D-D, Zedapet. I'm sure it's their take on a, like a swear. So the Eulerian challenge begins with the rantings of a prophet in a seemingly incidental street riot. Only when a dose of poison lands in the Governor General's whiskey does it become clear that the geeks have had it up to their double-leaded eyeballs with the imperialist Terran Federation's chartered Uhler Company. Then overnight, war is everywhere. How it will end is in the merely too Terran hands of the new Governor General, a man sure enough to know that it is easier to banish a habit of thought than a piece of knowledge. The problem is the particular piece of knowledge he needs hasn't been used in 450 years. No clue what the particular knowledge he needs is, but I'm sure I'll find that out in the book. It is really interesting too, or at least to me, the number of both science fiction, but also I think even just more mainstream fantasy books that seem to use Governor General as a title a lot. Like, I feel like that comes up a lot, or maybe that's just me, I don't know. Next up is Saga of Lost Earths, and it has this pretty cool cover of a warrior or a knight protecting a maiden from what appears to be a spaceship. So yeah, that seems kind of cool. I'm hoping, based off the cover, it's going to be kind of like a Sword and Planet book, which I do really enjoy the Sword and Planet stuff, but we shall see. And it says, Petayaz Cavalian Classics. The force is from outside our time and space. From outside anything we can humanly comprehend. I conceive of a great machine somewhere, alien beyond human thought, sending out tendrils like electric impulses in the days of the Cavalian heroes, actually before our present cycle of civilization began. The force was thrust in on Earth. I cannot pronounce Emile Petjes? Classic science fiction series based on the brilliant epic of Finnish lore, the Kalevala. If any of you guys are Finnish, I am so sorry, because I know I'm butchering all of these words terribly, so I do apologize. A mighty saga of heroes and witches, of beings from the stars and beyond the stars, of powers that came to Earth and shaped humanity. It doesn't really tell you, much about the book. Saga of Lost Earths, with which is included a second complete novel. The Star Mill brings two of these unique science fiction classics back to today's modern SF readers. So apparently it is two novels in one. So that's kind of cool. I wish it would say more, on the back, kind of what the book is actually about. I know a little bit of Finnish folklore, but not a lot. I think one story, and it was about this wizard guy that played a lute or played a harp or something and got a sea monster to come up. Anyway, that's not important, and I'm not sure if that's going to be in that book. But yeah, it is weird, as someone who reads a lot, seeing how book blurbs have changed over the years. How they went from giving no description about what you're about to buy to a lot of description, which I think is always fun. Next up, I have Jack Vance's Weiss, Alistair, 1716. And I probably just pronounced that wrong too. I have no idea what's going on this cover. It looks like people who are dressed like a weird art house movie from the 60s are either taking pictures or having a party on a balcony. Yeah, there's some weird stuff going on. I do love the cover though. I love all these painted covers, which is one of the reasons I think I still seek these books out and buy them when I can. And it says, the trouble with utopia is people, and this will remain true even in days to come, even in the Alistair cluster of 30,000 inhabited planets, whose sole protector of law was the mysterious person known as the Kinetic. On the planet Wist, number 1716, of the Alistair cluster, there was such a utopia, or so it claimed. There in one great city lived millions of people, sharing alike, working in absolute equality for just a few hours a week. But there was something decidedly cockeyed there, and the Kinetic finally sent a trusted investigator to bring back the facts, even at the risk of his life. So yeah, that seems kind of interesting. Does say, I don't think he won a Hugo for this book. I think they're just saying he's a Hugo award-winning author, which it's Jack Vance, so of course he is. Jack Vance wrote a whole mess of science fiction books. I have not read this book by him. I have read some of his short stories, and I've read a couple of his other DAW books. I think it was like The Five Rings, Space Opera, and those are just the ones I can see on my shelf. But yeah, I am actually kind of interested to read this. This does sound kind of fun. I like the idea of, an undercover agent going to this utopia to try to find out what's wrong. I feel like there's a couple movies based off of that. I don't know. I really feel like I need to start talking about old science fiction movies on here, because there are some really fun old ones. Shout out to anyone that likes Zardoz as much as I do, because I love that movie. Next up, I have Robert Sheckley's Can You Feel Anything When You Do This? And I also like this cover, which, if you can see, it's a face that's like unzipping itself to reveal like a coat hanger. So yeah, there's a lot going on in this. In this, his latest collection of short stories, Robert Sheckley offers 16 bizarre glimpses into the future. 16 tales to delight, amaze, and intrigue those who know, as well as those not yet familiar with his work. Which is me. I am not familiar with Robert Sheckley's work, but this does sound interesting, and it's not super huge, which I do enjoy when I'm reading a short story collection, because I like being able to just kind of like read bites without having complete novellas thrown in. Which, don't get me wrong, sometimes I am in the mood to read an entire novella or something by an author I like, but that is a commitment and not one I always want to make. Yeah, this seems like it's going to be fun. I don't know how much the unzipped head has to do with the stuff inside the book, but if it does, I'm definitely getting some like Twilight Zone vibes, so that's going to be pretty fun, because I do love Twilight Zone. Once again, just hold that cover up there, because that is a very neat cover. So yeah, that's going to be fun to read. And then next up, this is, I think, the biggest of the bunch, and this is Ian Wallace's Heller's Leap, which I think is also one of the more science fiction-y looking ones, because it is like a straight up spaceship. Looks like, avoiding a bunch of meteors while orbiting a planet. So straight up science fiction. This is also the thicker of the bunch. And I think actually comes in at about, let's see, 317 pages. So, I mean, just for comparison, like, this is kind of more what I'm used to seeing, like, the DAW Books printed, so it was kind of cool to see, like, a pretty big one like that. Like, even the, some of, like, the E. Doc Smiths I have that are 2 books in one, I mean, aren't much bigger than that. But also, E. Doc Smith wrote what would, his books, I guess, would probably be considered novellas, lengthwise. But anyway, that's another tangent I didn't mean to go on. It says, there was only one way to reach Iola, where an interstellar distress signal had oriented. For Iola belonged to a small group of stars cut off from the rest of the galaxy by the close presence of an all-enveloping black hole. The only way to reach Iola was through that timeless, spaceless cosmic warp. Klaus Heller answered that call. He leapt, clad in a special self-sustaining spacesuit, through the black hole. He returned to the world intact, silent and secretive, and was found murdered where none could have reached him. Ian Wallace's new novel is a combination of scientific paradox, social innovation, and super detection. Meet Claudine St. Cyr, future sleuth extraordinary, and meet again the mastermind Croyd. Confront with them the murder of a hero, the strange doom of his sister, and the plotted assassination of an entire planet. So, also a trend in DAW, science fiction, and paperback books. Actually, just paperback books, I feel like in general, for a very long time, sometimes the cover has absolutely nothing to do with the contents of this book. This shows a spaceship in trouble. What the book is actually about, according to the back of the book, is a murder mystery set in like a sci-fi universe. So yeah, Definitely a lot different than what is promised on the cover, which is fine. I love mysteries and I'm all about it, but it does make me wonder if something like that actually hindered the book when it came out, or if people just didn't care back then. You know, because at the same time, I see this, I know it's a science fiction, I'm not grabbing a mystery and thinking, oh, why is there spaceships in this? So yeah, it is kind of interesting. I will have to do a little research when I read this book and look online to see if like this cover actually hurt or hindered the book in any way. But anyway, that is my DAW science fiction haul. I hope you guys enjoyed checking out some of the books that I picked up recently. And if you like this video, or you know, want to teach me how to pronounce some of the Finnish names and words that were on the back of that one book, or just want to tell me which one of these books I should read first, please like this video and comment below. And if you want to see more content like this, please do subscribe. And until next time, I'm Jacob, and I'll see you guys later.